Hi, it's Larry here of Xbox's Major Nelson. Welcome to the Xbox Podcast. We're here another week. We're back with you to talk about games. We're going to talk about International Women's Day. We're going to talk about all sorts of stuff. But, you know, I can't do it alone. Nobody just wants to look at me. They want to bring in the rest of the gang. Rebecca over there. Jeff over there. Welcome back, gang.
You got the pointing right. You're improving. You're
if I point first and say the name second, then I can get it right. If I say, it's Rebecca.
I was going to say, there's only two options, but.
I know, but I get it wrong because I'm looking here and things are reflecting, but it doesn't matter. You guys are here. It's great to have you back.
It's great to be back.
It is. We've been busy. What? It's been a busy week.
It is.
It's
the best part of the week.
We have some. I've got the gloves ready to bust out. We're going to talk about that later. Oh. Jeff and I are going to talk about, and maybe Rebecca too, because I don't know. We haven't really talked much about what you're playing. In fact, we'll roll right into it right now. Jeff, and Rebecca, I have a confession.
Please tell.
I cannot get past the first boss in Wo Long. So I've been trying. It is so
Larry,
hard.
This isn't a confession. This is a support group.
Okay.
Because I have to be doing something wrong. Because I can parry decently, I think, but I'm not doing a lot of damage. And so I think there's probably like a counterattack I haven't figured out yet. But I was playing before the game released, and I was like, okay, I'm hitting a blocker here. Let me wait till we see all the streamers out there and
they can figure it out. They'll do all the hard work.
Oh, that's how you do it. That's easy enough. And then
it's not.
And then I promptly went back and banged my head against the wall a couple of times. But I do enjoy the game and I love what's going on. I think I just need to grind a little bit and then I'll be able to do it.
Yeah.
But the empowerment of when you do, I think the empowerment of when you do parry correctly is really awesome. And so I just need to do it more often.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Rebecca. I think I got to go full screener. I think we hear Pumbaa snoring.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. He kind of snores louder when he's awake. It's like his relaxed breathing. Oh, okay. So I'm sorry if you're picking up that noise.
If you scroll back right before I said that, I was like panicky looking at all the levels. I'm like, what is that sound? And then I realized it's coming from Pumbaa. So if
he's doing that deep yoga breathing.
If you hear something happening, it's there. But anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I wanted to.
No, it's okay. So I also started playing Wo Long over the weekend, Wo Long Fallen Dynasty. It was very interesting to me. I personally loved the ancient China portion of my global studies degree in college. So it was very interesting.
We look forward to when you play it, and hopefully maybe the next time Jeff and I'll be back over the boss. I have to tell you this story though, Rebecca and Jeff. I was down at Xbox Game Studios, one of the buildings, and I ran into Ken Lobb. And for those of you that don't know Ken Lobb, he's kind of an industry icon. He's worked on a bunch of different games.
Killer Instinct, right?
Yeah,
that's his thing. Anyway, and Ken's like, hey, what are you playing? And so I told him, I'm trying to walk. I said, oh, that's so easy. Here's what you do. And he did the same. It was the same thing, Jeff. It was like having a live YouTube tutorial.
He would think it's easy though.
And he's on like the 6th or 7th boss. He's like, and then because he is he's kind of he's so smart in terms of game design. He starts telling me how the game should be designed. And maybe they should do this. This is what they should do. And I was like, okay. And everything he told me about how to meet the boss got flushed out of my head at that point because I was like so taken with what he was going on. But Ken's been playing. Great. But Ken did give me a tip at some point, and Jeff, you and I should do this. You can do a co-op. And he says, if you
we got to unlock it though. I think it's still after the first boss.
Which therein lies the problem.
We have to do that on our own.
Therein lies the problem. We want help with the first boss. We can't get past the first boss to unlock. Anyway, it's fun. But I'm playing that. Also this week, of course, you know from last week, the new Halo Season 3, Halo Infinite Season 3 is happening. I played a little bit around in the maps and checking that out, so I'm gonna go in there and love to play with you guys.
But Jeff, quite a few new maps. Any of them jump out at you? There's Oasis.
Well, Oasis is this big team map that is extraordinary. It's so big. Like I went to the back of the map and there's like this other under cave area which is like as big as like a map alone that exists in Halo. I was like, whoa! So, I mean, it's just fun to play. So I'm looking forward to doing that.
Did you try out Escalation Slayer?
Have not tried. By the time this airs, I will have tried it out, but I have not tried it out yet.
Okay.
How is it?
For those who
what's
don't
us?
know,
What's yeah?
yeah.
Oh, well,
So-
that's go ahead,
Go on,
Jeff.
Ryan.
We talked about it on the show last week, Jeff. I'll let you give the explanation.
Yeah, basically, you start off with one weapon, and every time you get a kill, you get to a different level, or you level up to a different weapon, and so you make your way up, and you end up with the
level
oddball.
down because you start with a rocket launcher and it ends with the skull from Oddball.
Yes,
Nice.
yes, exactly. Which you can just punch. So you're going to get that first. You're going to get that first kill pretty quickly, probably. But then it gets tougher and tougher as it goes on. That's actually a really smart way to do it, as opposed to starting off with a
Handgun,
pea shooter,
right, and then working your way up.
Yeah,
So-
I gotta try that.
I like that. It's an improved form of what was it in Call of Duty Gun Game?
Yep.
Yeah, I loved
exactly.
Gun Game back in the day, but it would be cool to start start easy and then work your way harder.
So that's and it's interesting because this is point, and we pointed this out. Brian, of course, talked about it in the last show. It's free to play. Halo Infinite. Go check it out.
Very
So,
cool.
Nice.
Jeff, what do you? I know we talked. Rebecca, you're playing Wolong. Jeff, what have you been spending your time with?
I
Well,
was gonna ask
I've,
what he was wearing.
I formally joined the Shinsengumi. This was sent to me by Sega.
Oh,
Thanks, the RGG studio, who make Like a Dragon Ishin and the Yakuza games and all of those. You know, my favorites. I managed to beat Like a Dragon Ishin, and it was awesome. And what I ended up doing after beating the game is going down a Wikipedia hole. I had heard that Ryoma was the character that you end up playing was
Right.
a real person. And I ended up finding out almost every character in the game is based on a real person. The
That's so
hotel
cool.
that is your sort of base of operations is a real place. You can go into Ryoma's room and I think it's like turned into like some sort of shrine. So if you go to Kyoto, which like that is now like very high up on my list to do that, and it's even like positioned on the map in real life in a similar place by a canal or a body of water of some sort. Yeah, it's just so cool. I mean, granted, the real life samurai did not like single-handedly slay 400 people on his way to meet the shogun, but you know, the main beats of the story actually do line up to
Some history.
So
Yeah.
I learned something, and
Cool.
I had a good time doing it. So you can't do any better than that.
Now I can't remember, Jeff. I think we talked about this before. Rebecca, have you been to Kyoto?
I have not, but it's
I
been
haven't-
high on the list.
I
Yeah.
haven't either. Jeff, you've been to Kyoto, right?
I've been to Kyoto real quickly for one day. I was
That's not
there
enough.
for Tokyo Game Show, and I was going to visit a studio, Q Games, who have done the Pixel Junk games. Very cool people there, and they were like, "You should come on down." And I basically caught the first Shinkansen in the morning and the last
bullet
one
train.
at night.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
yeah, the bullet train, and it was beautiful just getting there, and then that was a whole experience. But the city is so cool. So I ended up filming a video there, and then ended up going and visiting the palace, because that was the capital during this time actually that the game takes place.
That's why I
Kyoto was the capital of Japan, and so you can go into the palace, and that was just an amazing experience. And now I have more places to want to go and visit.
Fantastic.
That's really cool. I love when people, or when like different organizations set up those places as like historical marks. Like, I don't know if this is a good comparison, but in Key West, there's like the Hemingway house. And so you can go and see where, you know, he lived and like stories
Lot
from
of
his
cats
life.
there.
And
Like
Yeah.
tons
yeah,
of
a lot of
cats.
cats.
It's famous.
Yeah. Maybe not a lot of predators on Key West, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's cool. So now I can start to see some of the Ryoma fans flocking to Kyoto and going to that house. That's pretty neat. Or the hotel, you said?
It turns out there's actually multiple museums. This character, much like you were talking about, the storyline in Wolong, you know, it is in the Three Kingdoms, and that has been like something that's popped up in pop culture, like
Yep.
continually. There's Romance of the Three Kingdoms, big book.
Mhm.
The Dynasty Warriors games, also made by Koei Tecmo, and so that's been everywhere. Well, apparently, this Ryoma person, Sakamoto, is like, this story has been told in many different ways as well, through TV, film, and even I think in other games as well, but not something that personally I had experienced until now. And so there's museums throughout Japan, but then yeah, you can go to the room he was in.
All right. All right. So all right. So now you've been flexing your wardrobe. What else? Let's flex your most recently played list. What else are you playing?
Yeah, no, that's where I'm at. So now that I've beaten that, I'm going back through titles that I had placed aside. And so the one that I'll be focusing on now is Midnight Suns. And that was one that I'd started. I started it at the same time as I started Persona 5. And I ended up going on a long trip.
Doomed.
And I was able to play Persona 5 on cloud. And I just kept going. And I was like, let me not do two giant games at the same time. So I will go all in now on Midnight Suns.
We've got some news. We've got a couple interviews we're going to go to in a second. I think we should get the news out of the way first. Jeff, while you're getting your news ready, I'm going to get
what do we got here?
I'm going to get these guys ready. So why don't you give us some news, and then I may or may not come back in to augment the news with something to show off.
All right, you tell me when you're ready for that. So, hey, we're into March, and it is time to talk more Game Pass games. Available today, Guilty Gear Strive, which is a 2D/3D hybrid fighting game, is available on Game Pass for cloud, console, and PC. If you played the Dead Space remake and you've got a hankering for more Dead Spaces, well, you can play Dead Space 2 and 3 as part of EA Play, which is included with your Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription or your PC Game Pass subscription, and it is now available on cloud. So take it wherever you go. I will say these games can be very scary. Sometimes playing it on a smaller screen does help tamp that down a little bit.
Maybe.
Not that I haven't tried that. This is an interesting one. Valheim, one of the most popular games on PC of the last 5 years, is coming to console. It's coming in game preview to Xbox.
It's on Game Pass
on
now,
March
right?
14th. March
And
14th.
PC.
And yeah, it's already there on PC.
Yep.
And it'll be coming on console March 14th. It's a survival game with sort of a Norse mythology kind of motif, if you will, and you can play it with up to 10 players. And these types of games are incredibly popular on Twitch, and it's something that I had never tried on PC, but now I get to try on console. Here's something I'm very excited about.
Yes.
Civ 6, one of the most I can't put it down, just one more turn games of all time.
I need to get Sid back on the show. He's been on the show before.
Sid Meier's been on the show?
Yes, he's a long time ago. He's been on the show.
Well, it
so.
must have been a long time ago. I've been playing since Civ 2, like well over 20 years ago. So Civ 6 coming to cloud, console, and PC March 16th. Very excited to be playing that. If you've never played a Civilization game, it doesn't take long before you realize, like, this is all I think about now. And lastly, you had played the first one of these games when it came out on Game Pass last year, and now the second one is coming on console and PC. Ni no Kuni 2, Revenant Kingdom: The Prince's Edition. This is a beautiful, like anime-inspired RPG, and I'm very excited to be playing that. The first one was a classic. It's available on Game Pass now.
Gorgeous.
And so I've never played Ni no Kuni 2, so that gets to change. Yeah, starting March 21st. Larry, are you ready for your thing? Because that's my next news story.
I'm ready.
Are you ready to stun the competition with a new Xbox wireless controller in Velocity Green? You're there.
Wow.
Ooh.
He was ready.
Look at this. I'll open it up for you. Go ahead, Jeff. Go ahead and
here at Xbox. We are partial to green. That's why we are excited to announce
partial to controllers, apparently.
Xbox wireless controller in Velocity Green, sporting our signature green color. People that do green screen, please take screenshots here and do something with Larry. This is the newest addition to our line of colorful wireless controllers, joining fan favorites like Shock Blue, Pulse Red, Deep Pink, and Electric Volt. This comes with all the features you need to elevate your game and add a vibrant pop of color to your gaming experience.
Velocity Green.
Love it. You are correct. We definitely are impartial to green on this team.
Now, speaking of that,
stand, Larry?
Pardon me?
Do you have the stand? Is that where you're going next?
No, I do. So you talk about the stand I had on Instagram?
So Razer makes us matching stands for a number of our different controllers. And they have done this too. It's great. It's a charging dock. It matches the controller perfectly. It's a beautiful thing.
Check this out.
You can check out on Xbox Wire or Xbox.com.
Unrelated. I'm sorry. Do you have anything else, Jeff? Because I have something that
there's other news, but I want you to
Well,
people want to know your.
Well,
what
I
you got
think
here.
I think folks know, and I think folks know that we have, a lot of people listen to this show. I mean, certainly people that are watching and listening, but it turns out that the folks that work on the partnership team, which we talked about this last week. This is exactly
that is the best packaging.
You cannot buy this. This is the special Star Wars The Mandalorian Xbox controller that we gifted to some influencers, and apparently,
but you can win it, Larry.
You can win
so
it.
Why don't you show it off, and then
Oh.
I'm gonna find the story on how you can win it.
it's
Or
got.
you
By the way,
amazing.
it's got the cutest little robe here. Look at this. So, you know what? I don't know, Rebecca, but I think I kind of want to take this robe off, and it may fit Pumbaa. I don't know.
It definitely will
Just
not.
don't know. Jeff, do you have information on how people can win? Not this one, but one almost exactly like it. I'm keeping this.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this on Friday, you're kind of you still have a little bit of time. So
Very
basically,
little.
there's a sweepstakes going on until May 11th. We have news on Xbox Wire, but basically there was a tweet about this on the Xbox Twitter account. That's at Xbox that you retweet it, and that's how you enter the sweepstakes. So, of course, The Mandalorian is going on now. I think episode 2 of this season just hit.
Yep.
I'm watching the other show currently with Pedro Pascal, and then I will watch The Mandalorian. So.
I would
Only
like
one
to.
episode left of The Last
I
of
know.
Us. Dave.
Oh, there is. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
I-
9 episodes in season 1. Kind of a weird number, but
I want
Hey,
to
when the story's done, it's done.
I want to show this off. Is they sent a little card over to me as well, Jeff and Rebecca. So lovely what it is, and then on the back here.
Love it.
But let's get ready, gang. Is that in
There's a
focus?
code. It's
yes,
in
it's in
focus.
focus.
Okay, there you go.
Oh,
So
yay.
woo, have fun with
3
that.
months
So
of
there you go.
Xbox.
3
Game
months of
Pass.
Game Pass.
If you're taking a screenshot of that, you could take a screenshot of Larry holding the Velocity Green controller and
Yeah. Exactly.
do
I don't
what
know.
you will with it.
Yeah.
You want me to bring this back up again just so we can hear? We'll just put it right here in front of my
You're a
face.
glutton for punishment. Like, oh my, right over your face too. That's
No, it's a great shade of green. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I do like that.
anyway, I wanted to show those things off. I'm really excited. The Mandalorian controllers, Jeff said, and we're talking about. You can go ahead and enter to win on that as well. So, all right. Anything else you got, Jeff? Let's roll into
a
the
couple
news.
more
then we'll
pieces
go
of
into the
news.
Yep.
Do you remember where you were 5 years ago at this time?
No.
Yes.
Let's say March 20th, 2018.
Oh no.
I could have been at PAX East. I have no idea.
Could have been. More than likely, though, you had a controller in hand, not
Yep.
green, and you were playing Sea of Thieves because sea of Thieves on March 20th turns 5 years old.
Oh, I have something they sent me. Hold on.
Oh,
It's not fair.
he's
I
got
want to
a
get on the
prop for
distribution
everything.
list.
He's like,
I know.
a prop comic, this guy. The carrot
Well,
top
says-
of gaming podcasts.
I'm sorry. Do you see what you're wearing? But yes.
Oh, yeah.
They
We also have some
pot,
props.
Something.
What was it? I'm sorry. What did I miss when I had my
Oh,
headphones
we weren't
off?
talking about you, Larry.
Okay. I
What
don't
you
know
got,
if
Larry?
Heavens forbid.
I don't know if I ever showed this off. I know I talked about it before we did video. Oh, it's not aging well. But they sent me this, Jeff. This was from the Sea of Thieves. I'll go full screen.
Oh,
And you can
how
actually
nice.
see-
No, that's me.
Wrong
I
person.
don't have it.
Jeff doesn't have it. Hold on. That's what happens when you're doing everything at once here. But you can kind of see it's got the date down here of the March 20th is when I unlocked. That was the first achievement I unlocked for Sea of Thieves, which was what shall we do with a drunken sailor? And then they basically
Oh,
made-
yeah. You can do that right when I remember when it first, that was actually the first thing we did in the game because if you drank
Wow.
too much
Right.
grog,
Wait.
you could get an achievement in the first pub.
So that's specific to your first
specific
achievement.
to me. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so it's so anyway, Jeff. When you brought it up, I was like, oh yeah. Well, it's funny. I'm actually working on redoing my office because I have so much stuff like this that I want to put behind me.
I can imagine.
Just haven't had a chance. But yeah, this is kind of a fun little thing. Well, it's a reason
Very
because
cool.
it's 5 years old. It's starting to show a little funny color in there. I don't know what that's all about.
Don't turn it upside down.
Yeah.
So not only is it 5 years anniversary, but we are on the dawn or just pre-dawn, I suppose, of season 9 for
Precipice.
Sea of Thieves. So it's the new content update. There was a really great trailer on at Sea of Thieves on Twitter. They did a Twitter video. It was about 6 or 7 minutes long that showed everything. Looks really cool. So you're going to want
Next
to check
week.
that out.
Next week we'll
Yes.
get somebody on to talk about that.
Oh,
Very cool.
well then I'll say no more.
Yep. Just we'll yeah. So, but exciting Sea of Thieves, and it's just great to see. Still is for my money best water in gaming.
Oh, for sure. This is the so between now and then, though, there's something called the Marauders Medley event with challenges that revisit updates and additions from the last 5 years of Sea of Thieves over the course of the next 10 days. And you can unlock cosmetics and other things like that. So, there may be some things that you missed previously that you get to get in there.
They're back.
And so, yeah, there's also a discount sale going on for lots of different things, sales and costumes and a pirate's life. If some items.
That was so fun.
That was your
I did
favorite.
that all summer last year doing that. And I cannot recommend that enough. So
There's also a free
That's
emote called Down the Hatch. I'm sorry. Go on, Rebecca.
Oh, no, it's just, I can't believe it's already been 5 years. I remember E3 2017 or 16. Was that the year that everyone was walking around with the fake tattoo sleeves?
Yep. And the eye
For
patches.
Sea of
Yeah.
Thieves. Yeah, and the eye patches. Man, 5 years.
By the way, that's still one of my favorite in-game items ever. If you remember when they launched, they had the day one patch for your eye.
That's right.
Wow.
I just love that. The team over there is just so creative. Anyway, we'll get a couple folks. Maybe I'll have Joe Need on next week. I'll work on that.
And a different Joe, Joe Screbbles, who is the editor-in-chief of Xbox Wire, was there all week writing up and uncovering some stories to share about the creation of Sea of Thieves. And
The
that stuff
meanest
will be running.
mustache in the games industry, Joe Screbbles.
He very much does.
Mean like good.
That's a good way to describe him. Yes.
Yeah. A couple other things I wanted to bring up. One is Paradox Interactive, who you may know from making a lot of really cool strategy games like Crusader Kings. You might have tried that. City Skylines. A lot of announcements this week and some stuff that's going to be pretty awesome for those of us who are Xbox owners. And one of them that jumped out at me was the Lamplighters League.
I just watched that trailer earlier. Yeah.
It looks very much my business. It's actually created here in Seattle by Harebrained Schemes, and it's.
Ooh, I know those guys.
What this reminded me of. Oh, well, maybe we can. Have
They
them
used
on
to be
the
at
show as
Xbox.
well. It reminded me a lot of Mutineer Zero, turn-based strategic combat, but then also some real-time positioning and I think it said. Infiltration, real-time infiltration. That was something that I really enjoyed. That mix of real-time gameplay and turn-based when battle does break out. So Lamplighters League is something I have my eyes on. I believe it will be coming out later this year. Also, City Skyline 2 was announced, and that's a game that has a significant history with Xbox. I remember when it first came out on Xbox One, and it was like an awesome city builder that did some really cool stuff. So to finally put the number on the end, City Skyline 2, expecting some big jumps. There was a cool announcement trailer that came out this week. And so it's actually, City Skyline 8 years old. So enough time has passed. It's cool to have something new to look forward to.
Agreed.
Lastly, today, as we record, this is International Women's Day, but it's also Women's History Month. We do have a blog post up on Xbox Wire for those.
But Rebecca, would you set us up? Because Jeff did an interview, I did an interview. It was a great set of stuff going on there. Would you go ahead and do that for us?
I know I've been slacking on the interviews lately, but you guys did do some great interviews. So Larry chatted with Natalia Scrimshaw from the Xbox Store team, and Jeff chatted with a friend of the show, friend of the team, Andrea Renee from What's Good Games. So let's hop into those.
So I'm not just on this show once a week, give or take. Most of my job actually involves listening to podcasts and working with gaming podcasters around the globe. And I will say, even in my downtime, I almost always have headphones on and I'm listening to a show. And when the weekend rolls around, I am always excited every week to listen to What's Good Games. And I'm very lucky, very fortunate to be joined today by Andrea Renee, the host of What's Good Games. Thanks so much for joining the show. This is like a rare treat for us.
It is. What's good, Jeff? Thanks so much for having me on. After knowing each other for so many years, I reached out to you and was like, hey, how come we haven't actually podcasted together yet?
Yeah, and I really thank you for reaching out because I think we had Britt on the show at one point a year or two ago, and I know we've kind of like thought about how we could make something like this happen, but you reached out you made this happen, and I'm glad you're here. I do genuinely listen to the show. You're 300 plus episodes into What's Good Games. It really is in my rotation, and I love the voice that you, Britt, and Rihanna bring to the industry. But let's talk about you a little bit first. Like you've mentioned, we've known each other for over a decade, and like most people that have been in the industry for a decade or more, it's very rarely a straightforward path to get where you're at. So I would love to just a little bit more background on you and how you ended up founding What's Good Games, and 300 episodes later, here you are.
Yeah, absolutely. My path was definitely not a straight one, that's for sure. And I'll try to keep this to the TLDR version because the story can get quite long. My friends at Kind of Funny Games actually gave me a full episode to talk all about that. So if you guys want to hear the whole story, I recommend heading over to their page. But so I started out in broadcast news, actually. I got my degree in broadcast journalism and originally moved to Los Angeles because I wanted to be Mary Hart on Entertainment Tonight. I had big visions of working in the movie industry and working red carpets and all that. And I did do that for quite a while, junkets and whatnot. And then the Great Recession happened and jobs just dried up and nobody was hiring, especially junior people like me, fresh out of college. And so I needed a pivot, and I was working with a hosting coach at the time. And that's when the rise of expert hosts was happening with cable networks. And she's like, so is there anything that you have like a hobby for or you're passionate about that you could be an expert in? And I was like, well, I've been playing video games since I was a kid. Do you think I could do that? And at the time, there was not really a lot of on-camera opportunities in video games, particularly for women. It was basically like G4 and Spike TV, and that was it, because digital video was just starting. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to explore this. And I started pounding the pavement, so to speak, sending out resumes, looking for jobs. When I got my first bite to host for a little site called thebitbag.com, Torrance Davis, shout out to him for giving me my first video games job, at E3 2008. And anyone who's been to E3 usually says the same thing. I was hooked. After that moment, I couldn't turn back. And so I just started looking for more work and gradually found my way into a full-time producing job, and then eventually went on to work with some big MCNs, the multi-channel networks like Machinima, Alloy Digital, Defy Media, working with brands like Smosh Games, Escapist News, Game Trailers, and the wonderful team at GT before I went full-time freelance. And at that point, I was doing a lot of on-camera work at live events, stage hosting for people like Square Enix and Nintendo, and even working the Xbox Lounge at San Diego Comic-Con, which was a really fun job that year. And I decided that I wasn't busy enough because never one to just kind of sit around. Couldn't wait until these live events were coming up, every couple of months. And so I was talking to my good friend, Alexa Ray Correa, and I said, hey, would you want to start a podcast with me? And she was like, yeah, that sounds fun, because she was also doing some work writing and hosting at the time. And so we were like, okay, let's start a podcast. And so we came up with an idea for the show. And then we're like, well, we can't just do it the two of us. We need more people. Then we brought in Brittany Brombacher, founder of BlondeNerd.com, and our good friend Christine Steimer, who was running her own Twitch channel at the time, Steimer says. And thus, What's Good Games was born.
And you all have, for the most part, stuck around in the industry. And I know Alexa's been writing games and, was a huge voice at GameStop. And I actually worked with Steimer for a little bit of overlap when I was at Sony. And I think it's awesome. And Rihanna on the show now. And just so many great voices on the show. So can you talk about like the particular vision of What's Good Games and what it is now and what you think is important to make sure that people take away when they do listen to the show every week?
So the biggest thing that I wanted to drive home when we were originally talking about, well, what kind of a podcast do we want to be? There's a lot of video game podcasts out there. What makes us different, right? Like, why should people tune in and download our show every week? And the biggest thing that I wanted to drive home was our combined professional experience within the video games industry, meaning we aren't just fans who are passionate about the games that we love and want to talk about them. We actually all have been professionally working in the video games industry. Steimer, as you mentioned, had development background. Brittany started her own fan site, so had a lot of community and marketing background. Alexa Ray really coming from a writer's perspective. And then I really coming from the more video production and traditional media focus. And so collectively, over 35 years of combined professional experience, that was always our focal point. Because it would be easy to fall into, hey, we're a girl gamer podcast. But for a lot of reasons, that can be incredibly problematic and really tough for women to sell. And we can get into that in just a minute. But I always wanted it to be about our experience and not about the fact that we were just women talking about games.
What can we do to encourage, I think, more women to feel empowered to create a show like what you've been able to do?
I mean, that's a great question. It's something that Brittany and I talk about all the time of like, why aren't there more podcasts run by all women teams? And thankfully, there are more women and men working together to make video game content, both in podcast form and obviously streaming and YouTube VODs and things like that. But I think what it really comes down to is that despite the fact that we've made some really big strides in inclusivity and making gaming a more accessible and welcome place, it still is not where it should be in terms of toxicity, online harassment, bullying, and general icky feelings when you're in those spaces. And being a content creator means you really have to put yourself out there to both the good and the bad. And a lot of times the good outweighs the bad, but the bad can get really dark. And not everybody wants to do that. And I appreciate that there's a lot of women out there that are like, I don't want to put my mental health at risk just because I love video games. I'd rather just love video games by myself and not do it on the internet. And I find that very understandable, but also I get a little sad inside because I'm like, but there's so many wonderful people out there that could really benefit from this. And it's tough because I think sometimes Britt and I put an unfair amount of pressure on ourselves to keep going because we are the only all-women run video game news podcast. There are some really great other podcasts that focus on other types of topics in the video game industry. Like Kat Bailey has her fantastic RPG podcast, and then there's She Plays Games, which focuses purely on developers in the industry, which is great, and some others as well. But I think a lot of it has to do with women that are my age or around my age, so like millennials, never grew up thinking that they were allowed to be gamers, that they were welcome as gamers. And that's really who the primary content creators are right now. Even younger women, I think, are now, we're starting to see that next generation coming in, like the Gen Zs, who thankfully grew up fully with video games and had a more welcoming space, had more, women in their lives that were playing. But we're still not there yet. I think it's going to take like another generation beyond Gen Z to get to the place where they're like, of course I can play video games. Anybody can play video games. But we're just not there yet.
What can those of us as viewers, as supporters, people who want to be, I would say, on the right side of history and just be, good citizens, do to support women in gaming, support a show like yours?
Well, the easiest thing to do is to support them through their subscriptions or through their memberships if they are on like a YouTube Premium or if they have a Twitch subscription or if they have a Patreon. That's the best way to support. But I know that not everybody has dollars to throw at the content creators they love. Times are tough right now. So what we like to remind our audiences is you don't need to give us dollars to support us. Just a couple minutes of your time. Leaving a 5-star review for a podcast that you like is a really great way to support your favorite show. Following somebody on Twitch, which is free, is a great way. Just subscribing to their YouTube channel, but not paying for premium. Interacting with their content, liking, commenting, retweeting, sharing it with somebody you like. Even just telling somebody, hey, have you checked out this show with this person that I really like to watch? that goes a long way. And if you see them do sponsored content with the hashtag ad in it, interact with that content, because those kinds of pieces of content are what help that creator keep the lights on to keep making content. Even though it might not be the content that you subscribe to them or want to see from them, know that you interacting with that content helps them keep making the content that you love. And if they can't keep getting paid somewhere, then they might not be able to keep making content for you.
Andrea, let's talk about this next generation that you referred to, this next generation of gamers. If you can speak to them directly, what would you say? What are the roads that you've helped blaze that they get to walk, hopefully a little more smoothly? But what would you tell even a younger version of yourself in order to, I would say, encourage that content creation, that sense of belonging, and the empowerment to do, be their authentic selves?
I would say don't give up. Keep persevering. If you are passionate about what you want to do, or if you have fandom around a certain franchise or a game and you want to make content around it, there is an audience out there for you. It just might take some time for you to find them. And that's okay. I mean, if this was easy, everybody would be succeeding at it, right? But we see that, only like 1% of podcasts really kind of like pierce through to actually get numbers where they can do it full time. And I'm not going to pretend like it's not going to take a lot of work. It is. It's going to be a lot of work, but it's so rewarding. The thing that really keeps us going at What's Good Games is when we get messages from people in our community that tell us about the friends that they've made through our Discord or through our clans or our guilds, through our Facebook fan page, the relationships that they've formed, and how it's even maybe inspired them to start their own show. There was this really fantastic woman who had followed our show for multiple years, and she had been working in an aeroscience field. And she decided, you know what, I love video games. Why don't I try to get a job in video games? And she ended up getting a job at a developer, and she wrote us and said, like, thank you for, encouraging me to pursue a career path that I never thought I could actually do. And so I think like that are really the reason why we keep making the show, because we want people to know that video games is for everybody.
So you mentioned keep making the show. You're over 300 episodes in, which is awesome. That is like multiple milestones have been achieved there. And now you and Britt are parents. So I would love to know how you're balancing that out and where you want to take things forward.
Man, the balance is something that we're still working on. I've got to be honest. It's tough. I mean, you're a parent, you understand like that it's always a challenge trying to manage your personal time, your work time, and then your kid time. And Brittany and I happened to have our babies at the same time during the pandemic, which was its own level of challenging. And I think, it's really changed the way that we approach not only like the production of the show and what we can give to the show every week, but also our perspective on the games that we choose to play and the time that we choose to spend with games versus the time that we spend, with our children. And every parent goes through that. And I know it goes in phases, right? And I'm definitely looking forward to the time where I get to play more online games that don't have pause buttons, but I know that time is coming. But it's really been an interesting thing for us to watch our fans react to how we've changed and the content has changed. There's been a couple people that haven't been along for the ride, but the vast majority of our fans have really appreciated that we bring our family life into the discussions about what we're doing and how we're gaming, because a lot of the people who listen to our show are also parents and are our age and have kids and go through those same experiences. And so I think that it's been a really interesting journey for us as content creators to also be parents at the same time.
Yeah, I think there's so much fertile ground to like discuss down the line when eventually you get to play with your kids. And there are a few things more rewarding than passing along that journey and helping introduce your children to games and how to game safely and why you should always be inverted when you're playing a 3D game.
No, you're one of those. Brittany's an invert too.
Brit's got a special place in my heart. All us inverters, we just know each other. Yeah, there's a whole story there about how I ensured that will continue in the Rubenstein lineage. But that's for another show entirely. Is there any sort of parting thoughts that you would like to leave with the viewers of this show here before we send it back?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for people who are listening to the show, just a reminder that playing games is good. Positive play is something that's really beneficial. And so if you're a parent, encourage your kids to play, encourage them to form relationships with other people who play, because the research shows time and time again, these are good things. And just remember that when, excuse me, just remember that when it feels like somebody's trying to take that joy from you, to just block them out and remember that you don't have to ever talk to them again, and they can't steal your joy and your love of games, because the game community is vast and wonderful.
As we were talking about earlier in the show, International Women's Day, Xbox is celebrating it. Very excited. Natalia Scrimshaw from the Xbox team. I'm on the Xbox team. She's on the Xbox team. Natalia, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Larry. I'm super excited to be here, celebrate everything Xbox and Women's History Month.
Yeah, Women's History Month. Really, really incredible. I mean, we're going to talk about that in just a second. There's a great blog post that you authored on Xbox Wire. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But I want to talk about you and your journey to Xbox and gaming. It's a great story, and I was wondering if you could share that with us.
Yeah, I have a super personal connection to Xbox. One of my earliest memories getting into gaming was when I was watching my dad when I was probably 5 or 6 years old, and he was playing the first Halo on the original Xbox. And my younger brother and I would sneak behind the couch to kind of peek around and watch him play as Master Chief, shooting aliens in a graphic scene that was probably too intense for us. My mother did not like us.
But it was
this.
purple blood, so it was okay, I guess.
Exactly. Very distinct sounds, hearing plasma pistols recharging, and a lot of the, whatever Halo sound effects were there are just like core to my memory at that point. And that was kind of the first exposure that I had to gaming, where I was like, this seems fun.
Right.
This seems different. And it was something that, Halo would later be a game that my brother and I would bond a lot over. We would settle sibling disputes and play, against each other and have a really great time.
What a great story.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So early attachment to Xbox, to Halo in particular. And, gaming is something that I enjoy, from de-stressing to hanging out with friends. There are kind of a lot of different avenues that I find gaming brings me joy in my day-to-day life.
Natalia, I want to talk about that for a second, because you talked about your brother and your dad. What does your brother think now that you're working at Xbox? He must enjoy that story.
Yeah, definitely. My family thinks I have a very, very cool job. I had always thought about Xbox being an awesome place to work. I didn't really know growing up, what I would do there.
What does that mean, right?
Yeah, exactly. What does it mean to work at Xbox? But from what I learned about through my career, everything from technology to, customer experience to the games, there's just so many aspects of working in gaming that you don't think about, especially when you're a kid.
Right.
And so having a lot of different experiences in life kind of helped get me here. And yeah, they're certainly big fans of it. They ask me what I'm working on all the time and stuff. So,
and sometimes you can tell them, sometimes you can't. But let's talk about that. It's a great segue. Tell us about the area of Xbox that you work on, because there's so many different areas. Tell us about your specific area, and then we'll get into International Women's Day.
Yeah, so I work on the store team. If you've ever used the Microsoft Store on the console, go to Xbox.com, the Xbox app on PC. All of those storefront experiences are what my team owns and works on, and what I've been doing for the last 5 years.
Yeah, you've actually, it's great to see the progress we've had in the store over the years, part and parcel because of you and your team. The store's gotten better in terms of faster and easier to use, and some cool features. So thank you for that. It's always great to get to our games. But I want to talk about the blog post at news.xbox.com about that you authored about Xbox celebrating women in gaming and this International Women's Day. Tell us about some of the things we can read about in the blog and some of our activities we have at Xbox. I mean, I know what they are, but I want to hear it from you.
Yeah, there's kind of a whole host of activities that we're spotlighting this month with Women's History Month. Obviously, Xbox cares a lot about empowering women and getting more women into Xbox, and gaming year round. But some of the specific things that I'm really excited about are, we have a bunch of women gamers coming into our Twitch stream and doing a lot of stuff on the Xbox Twitch channel. There are some affirmation cards that Xbox has put together with the input of the Women in Gaming employee resource group that has a lot of great just ideas and quotes that you can read to kind of remind you that you are important, you are a part of the industry, and just really great positive quotes that kind of help set good intentions for your day.
Yeah, we've got them. I'm actually showing them right here. You can actually download this and print them out. And here's a few of them here. If you're watching this on YouTube or you're watching it on Spotify, we're going to show some of the cards here. We're not going to show them all. You can go download them and yourself. But there's some really great stuff in here. And they're quotes that are collected from games, but also from some of the women that work at Xbox, correct?
Yeah. And, early in my career, I had a mentor who gave me a set of affirmation cards that I referred to a lot when I needed a confidence boost when I was starting out. Wasn't really sure of my place, especially at Xbox. And so I think this is a really great way to give back to the community and to anyone who really needs that confidence boost, especially when you might be in a new career or you're early in career, you're making way in a place that you are unsure about.
It's interesting because even if you're not in the games industry or trying to get in the game, these are great reminders. If you're a gamer, because that's probably why you're listening and watching this podcast, these are great little affirmation cards to go through it that you can use every day. And you actually have some of the quote, you have some of your own quotes in here. Is that right?
I do. Yes, I did submit a quote. It's in there, basically just saying, whatever comes, let it, whatever goes, let it. Really just a reminder to be flexible, adaptive, and go with what's next. You can't always control everything, but the things that you can, just kind of let it go through you and see what's next for you.
It's interesting because as I was paging through them earlier today, as I was getting ready for the interview, that's the one I ended up going back to all the time. And I thought that was such a great, simple statement that can really help a lot of folks all the time. So again, go to news.xbox.com. You can download the affirmation cards. You can print them out in black and white. You can put them on your phone. You can do whatever you want with them, but they're nice quotes directly from some of the voices here at Xbox. We've got some other things we're doing as well with activations for the event, aren't we?
Yeah, there's a lot of other things going on. There's been some great partnerships. I think we announced an esports U and Padia gaming partnership, which has women collegiate teams competing in an esports tournament. We have a number of, U.S. Women-led organizations that you can donate to through Microsoft Rewards, like Girls Who Code. There's, art that has been done, commissioned by Brooklyn-based artists who has done a rendering of the Xbox logo around what her vision of womanhood and gaming is. And then there's a number of Xbox ambassador stories, all kinds of Xbox digital goodies, much like the affirmation deck, new gamer pick, profile themes, avatar items, and more.
So there's
lots of really great stuff happening.
And again, I know we covered a lot. Go to news.xbox.com. We'll link to it in the show notes here, and you can see the blog post that Natalia put up. So I want to thank you for that. I also want to thank you because as I was reading through this, and I don't know if you know this, I know some of the listeners and viewers of the show. I have a young daughter. She's 5 years old, and it's interesting to see her interest in this area. And I want to obviously let her embrace whatever she wants to do. So it's so exciting to see role models like yourself who have blazed the path and who are working in the industry now to kind of look back and give back to to some of the folks and help shape the new generations. On behalf of my daughter, I want to thank you.
Thank you.
It's such a great thing to have these resources. But before I let you go, tell me about just a couple of tips you would give for maybe some women who are interested in getting in the games industry and how they should follow their dream.
Yeah. the games industry has changed so much, especially in the last couple of years. And for anyone who wants to break into it, you don't necessarily need a technical degree. There are lots of different ways, as I mentioned earlier, that you can contribute to the gaming industry. And everyone's voice is important. You know, the games that we develop and create and have on Xbox and other platforms only get better when we have more people and more voices coming in to help craft them and represent them. So, you know, we need more women in games. We definitely appreciate the diversity that more people bring to the content and also to the platform. So if you are intimidated by maybe some of the things that happen in gaming, just know that Xbox is a really great place for kind of developing that path if you're interested in applying here. And there's lots of opportunities, technical and non-technical, that you can look at for the gaming industry.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because as somebody who's been at Xbox for quite a long time myself, you know, it's been fascinating to see the makeup as I go every day when I go into meetings. It's great to see more and more diverse representation and different voices. And it's always great to me because I love listening to people that maybe aren't gamers, but they're an expert in their field, whatever that is. Because, you know, when we talk, our boss, Phil Spencer, talks about when everybody plays, we all win. And that's true. And gaming is the great thing about Xbox. One of the many great things is we've widened the aperture in so many ways to be so much more inclusive. And this, what you just talked about, is part of it. So I want to thank you. You are leading the way with us here.
Yeah. No, it's been great. I think part of me feeling comfortable working at Xbox has largely been because of our great, amazing leadership team. Phil is obviously a huge champion for that culture. And noting that, you know, over half of our gaming leadership team are women.
Yep.
And being able to see awesome women like Sarah Bond and Ashley McKissick kind of leaning in and paving the way for the next generation, for, you know, my set of peers who are interested in having a long-term career in gaming. I wouldn't be here without, you know, the hard work that they've done. So,
well, great. Well said. I don't know if I could say anything more than that. So I want to thank you for your time today, Natalia. It's Natalia Scrimshaw. You work on the Xbox team on the store specifically. I want to thank you for the great blog post. We'll link to it in the show notes below. And again, it's a lot to do. Go download those affirmation cards. And again, Natalia, thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much, Larry. It was great being here.
Cord, we're all set. Anytime you're ready. There he is. Anytime you're ready.
Okay, Puma's awake now. Thank you to Natalia and to Andrea for those awesome interviews. I don't know if you guys remember, but last year I actually met with Brittany Brombacher from What's Good Games,
yep.
Andrea's colleague, along with Agnes from the Minecraft team and Jen Panatoni from the Xbox team, and did a special all-women episode. So that was a lot of fun. Maybe I'll do that again next year.
We need to do that again next year. I really like when we're able to mix things up like that. So that was such a great set of interviews. Of course, Jeff, thank you for talking to Andrea, and it's so great to talk about this.
We're having a conversation about some other stuff, and she had brought up wanting to come onto the show, and I was like, yeah, of course, this long overdue. So it was glad to have her on.
Way long overdue. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah. You know, I feel like, you know, people can look at these different like heritage months or like community months and kind of wonder why we do from just the announcements that we have on a, you know, weekly basis, you know, oh, X game is coming out, X game has an update, and to look at people who are working in the industry and hear about their background and what they're doing, even if it's not releasing a game that week. So, you know, I know that we have like Asian Pacific Islander Heritage Month coming up soon, and I'm on the Asians at Xbox team, and so I'd love to bring someone on soon. But
yes.
Yeah, I like these kinds of, you know, kind of take a step back interviews and look at what other people are doing in the industry. So
well, to your point,
Natalia and Andrea.
I love talking to the people to find out, you know, you heard from Jeff how Andrea got into the industry and Natalia how she got in. It's always interesting people's backgrounds.
Totally.
Rebecca, your background was interesting. Jeff was also interesting. We're still looking for the weather video.
Never found it.
And it's great to be able to talk and just let people know, like Natalia said in that interview a few minutes ago, you don't need to be a tech person. You know, there's a need for all sorts of people in the games industry. If you're really good in your field, I bet you there's a way we can find have you work in the games industry. So it's great to hear that.
Totally.
So, okay. Anything else, gang? Because I think we're gonna let folks go. We got a lot of show this week, a lot of news, a lot of information. Rebecca, you got anything you want to say before we set everyone free?
It's been a busy week, but no, let's catch up next week.
Yeah,
we did talk about Starfield.
Yeah, I was just gonna say we
forgot
forgot
Starfield.
Starfield.
Shoot.
How did we miss that?
Oh yeah, that just happened.
I don't know. Maybe
today
you
when
forgot
It
we're
to
happened
do
this
the
morning when
news.
we were taping this. Yes.
Oh, shoot.
Why don't you go ahead and do a
Okay,
little
yeah.
recap on that? I don't know, Rebecca. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, so the Starfield team released an awesome new trailer today. They also announced the release date for the game. I think it was September 6th, and then June 11th for the Starfield Direct. So I'm looking forward to learning more about Starfield, and that's just about 3 months now.
Yep.
So, not too long to wait.
Yep. Hit up, follow the Starfield team on Twitter, and that's where we found out. So it's great to see that. So there you go. That's about it. Jeff, anything you want to add before you go?
No, we're good. I'm going to be gone for the next couple of weeks. But,
Okay.
Let's put some good butts in this seat here.
In that square over the see, I did it again over there.
Yeah, so close.
Well, we
That
got a bunch of and to Rebecca's point, we have a bunch of amazing talent here at Xbox. Certainly can't be replaced. And when you're ready to come back, Jeff, I know you got a full schedule of things you're working on. Then we'll have you back. So yeah, that's a great thing about the show is, Jeff, you're working on some projects. Rebecca, I know you're going to have some time in the next few months where you're going to be able to sit out. I mean, I wish I could take time off, but somebody's got to put the show together. But yeah, we'll cycle in a bunch of folks. But Jeff,
Yeah, I'll be going to GDC. It'll be one of the things I'll be doing. So I'm going to have the opportunity to play some indie games. Looking forward to come back and tell you what I like.
yeah. So if you want to follow us on
Nice.
Twitters, you can see all the social there at the bottom. Rebecca, can you
Got to
join
leave
us
it
next-
up there for more than 1 second. You're always in a rush, Larry.
I'm hitting buttons over here, and it's not that I leave. It's
You
just
could leave it
comes
up there. 30 seconds. No, it's gone.
It's on a macro. I can't stop it. It just
Okay.
goes. I'll work on that.
All right.
I'll work on that for the next show. Rebecca, will you join us next week?
Yeah, I'll see you next week, Larry.
More importantly, will Pumbaa be awake for the show next week?
What do you think, Pumbaa? Yep, he'll be there.
Okay.
He can perk. He always perks his ears up when I'm like, "Okay, talk to you soon. Thanks, bye." As
Well,
my calls end because he
look.
knows that I'm done. See,
Can I get fed now?
yeah.
Yeah, I missed it. I saw his head pop up there. So all right.